that means running.
God, technical issues. Everyone who is joining us here in actual person. Why? Sorry, we're having some feedback through the iPad. I have. It won't go off. Let's try again. Okay. Yes, it's a winner. So yeah, welcome to everyone who's come in person to join us here at the Mill in Bradford, and also welcome to everyone who is joining us online from across Yorkshire. It is great to have everyone here for this event. So today we are going to be talking about some practical hints and tips that you can apply to your music, getting it out there, like discovering what else you can be doing to just really maximize your engagement and just things that you might not know that will be really helpful. So my name is Ash. I'm a keys player. I'm based in Leeds and I also work for Manchester Jazz Festival. I'll be chairing this panel today. And we've got 4 lovely guests with us who I will let introduce themselves, starting with the lovely Shell.
Hi, I'm Zenner. I'm a music journalist, a radio presenter and producer. I work for BBC Introducing. I work for Amazing Radio. You can hear me on XS Manchester. I am just about to start working at Leeds Conservatoire as well, if you are in the educational music sphere. And also I do lots of other things, hosting, assessing funding applications for PRS and PPL, loads of other different bits and pieces in the music industry. So I like to think I know a lot about different elements of the music industry, including digital. And this is Nico. Sorry she's here, but, you know, it was a long drive without her. Hope she stays quiet. Apologies if she's a bit noisy. I'll keep her as quiet as I can.
Honorary panelist. I mean, I think she's going to have some very good insight.
She's got all the knowledge. She definitely gives you a dirty look when she doesn't like the tune. I'm telling you.
Yasmin.
Hi guys, lovely to see you all here, and thank you for inviting me. My name's Yasmin Lajoie. I'm based in London and I've worked in the music industry for 12 years. I started my career in A&R at EMI and then Sony and then Warner. I've been independent for the past 5 years, managing songwriters and producers and doing A&R consultancy work. I'm also a writer and a judge on the PPL and PRS Momentum funds and the Launchpad funds. Yeah.
Amazing. Chiedu?
Yeah, my name's Chiedu Oraka. I'm an artist and content creator from Hull in East Yorkshire, not too far away. So yeah, big up the Yorkshire Massive and that.
And last but not least, Simon.
Hello, I'm Simon Ricks. I am in a band called Kaiser Chiefs and also look after a couple of other artists, and then I did the judging for Launchpad, the amazing Launchpad, and then I've been doing lots of mentoring during lockdown and like just building that relationship, which has been good.
Amazing, thank you. So as we already have said, the aim of today is really to kind of arm you with some practical tips for like what you can actually do, like no magic spells or any like mystical breaks, like actual things that you can do to get your music out there. And I think one of the main things really about getting your music out there beyond playing live shows is releasing your music, and the part that streaming has to play in that, especially now that that has opened up the music industry to so many more people to come into it. So I just thought we should kick it off with a little chat about releasing your music and how to really like maximize that traction and engagement on streaming. And I thought maybe Yasmin, you could share some of your insights with us from working with lots of different artists about what they are doing or what you find most beneficial.
Great. Okay. Yeah. I mean, nobody needs the whole team around them anymore to release music. So you can get your music out there pretty easily without a manager, a lawyer, a PR, an agent, a label, any of that old school kind of like, you know, the hangers on, basically. So you can get your music out there pretty easily using a label services company, a distributor, which is great. But I think a lot of people think, this is great, I've got a hard drive full of music, so I'll just put it all on Spotify, which isn't the right attitude either. So I think there's a balance to be struck, and you need to pick your very best work, like best foot forward. So if you do have a whole hard drive full of music and you can't decide which songs are your best songs, like ask your friends, like ask people you know who work in music, ask like your friends who are like the super unimpressible, like you can't impress them with anything. You take them to gigs and they're like, this is shit. Like the ones that are like the ultimate music critics, get them to listen to your music and pick their favorite songs. And then like, yeah, just put your best stuff out there, and be really selective. And it's quality over quantity, I would say.
So I guess coming from an artist perspective, because that's easy to say whenever you don't have that like personal hold over every song that you might think is absolute crap, but to an artist, they're like, that is the most pure like example of my soul I've ever made. So like from your perspective as an artist, like is that kind of how you approach releasing your music?
Yeah, like just get like an honest team around you, like of people who you know are going to be honest, like them people what she just mentioned that don't really like anything. Do you know what I mean? And like I normally play a lot of stuff to my mum because obviously she's just got like a commercial ear, so she might like it, she might say, oh, I don't like that, or she hates it when I swear or stuff like that. But nah, like literally I'd say I've got a good 3 or 4 people who I can show music to, and they're like, I don't know if this is the one but when you're the artist, it's different because you live in the music, you've made the music, you've got emotional attachment to the music. So I always think the artist should have the final say. Do you know what I mean? So that's just my opinion. What do you reckon, Si?
I think I see both sides. I think there's room for both sides. So I think if you're doing like singles, so Spotify's made everything about tracks. Streaming's made everything about tracks. And I think with that, there's like Yasmin said, really, my experience at Launchpad is like everybody just wants to like release as much music as possible, as quick as possible. And you're like, well, why? Like someone said to us about releasing music into wanting, like the world doesn't want it. Like there's so many tracks around. So while you're releasing it, make sure you're releasing the best stuff you could possibly release. Is there a plan? Is anyone going to play it on the radio? If it's going to get played on the radio, give it time between each single for like it to grow and all those sort of things. But equally, there's still time like to do an EP and have a couple of singles and have the track that you have put your life and soul into. It can go on there, and if it takes off because people love it, then that's great. Like in our band, I'm the guy. We've got some other people who get to listen to it, but I'm the guy. I'm just going, no, it's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? And even like one of our band did a podcast the other day. I was talking about our hits, like Ruby and Riot and stuff, and saying that getting it past me and Whitey, who's our guitarist, getting anything past us in the early days was just impossible. And he was like saying it like it was a bad thing. And I'm like, no, we were just complete A&R in the, we sort of didn't even know it really because we were young, but we were just moody basically. It's going, no, not good enough.
I mean, someone has to do it. It's obviously worked.
You need people like that. Manager, I think, is good to do that because they're like an outside person. So yeah, just.
Yeah, I think artists are so close to it, and like you said, they'll be like, "This is an expression of my soul."
Yeah.
And it's really hard for them to then take a step back and think like, "Is this actually going to appeal to anyone who isn't me?" And like a lot of people email me and say like, Yasmin, please can you manage me? Please can you help me? Please can you sign me and all this stuff? And then they'll say like, I've got 400 songs ready to go. And I'm like, well, no, you obviously don't. Like no one, not even like Paul McCartney wrote 400 great songs. Like you obviously don't. And what that's telling me about you is that you don't have an A&R process. You don't have a way of selecting your best songs.
It's like an immaturity in the way of thinking, isn't it? It's like you need to learn that you need to let some stuff go, no matter how hard it is.
I think everyone's got a finite number of songs in them, like which explains why Paul McCartney's forgotten how to write songs. But sorry.
God's sake.
Have you listened to his new stuff?
That's
Anyway.
a whole other panel.
Anyway,
Paul McCartney panel.
yeah, but everyone's got like a finite number of songs, and you just need to be able to pick your best ones. And if you can't pick your best ones, you need to find someone who can help you with that.
Absolutely, because that's kind of what it's about. Like if streaming is a tool to get your music out there and to widen your fan base, then you need to be thinking about, well, who am I reaching and why should they care? And and they'll only care if it's good and if you believe in it and if they can get behind it. And like, it's like we were trying to kind of dig down into a little bit more here, like getting the traction from the streaming. How do you use that as a tool to build your audience? And like, do you find from like a more media and radio perspective that like the way people use streaming and the way they release their music changes how you like think about them, or like what do people do well that you pick up on?
Wow. Streaming is just a whole different ball game, isn't it? But, you know, we used to be living in a situation where there would be a 3-month lead-in time for a single. So we'd get sent around to radio and we'd be able to pick up on it, maybe have a few weeks breathing space before it was, you know, before everyone was talking about it, if they were into it. And, you know, you would have time to build up a track and, you know, get that artist on board and really like support them. Whereas now you could just be turning around to a new track every month. There's a lot of people that do that because they think they need to be like building profile, and it is important to build profile, but you know, you've got to do it in a certain way. I look at it from a different perspective. Streaming is, you know, it has, you know, the Broken Record campaign has shown it's got massive challenges, but there are other sides to streaming as well, not just a place for artists to be discovered and be on playlists, but also there's ways to show your tour dates, there's ways to link to your merch sales, there are ways to showcase your oh god, I knew that was going to happen. Come here. Sorry, she doesn't like photographers. Turn the cameras off. Basically, you know, things like I see so many artists now that have their own playlists of the tunes that they like, the ways to support other artists, maybe people that they have like supporting them, or just people in their network, in their community that are making music. And I think these things are actually Meeks, come on. Sorry. These are actually really valuable things that I think, you know, ways to kind of grow your brand as well and show how knowledgeable you are and how much you can, you know, share information and about yourself and get people invested. It's really hard on social media to actually get people invested and actually, you know, buying records or merch from you or investing in your tickets. So these ways that you can try and like capitalize on that, I think are really important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think there's something to be said across everything that you do as an artist, even the really mundane stuff. Like you can still embed your creativity and your vision within that with your playlists, or like running a campaign on your Spotify, like even your visuals and your bio, like how much you do or don't say makes a massive impact. And like just applying the same thing that you would do with people listening to your music, applying that to how your like your socials and your Spotify and everything looks like. Get someone to look at it, get someone to read that bio. Having consistency across your social media, across your streaming platforms is really important. But also, I mean, I read something the other day about tips for writing a biog. If you don't know somebody, or you don't think you're very good at putting words together, you can like pick up a magazine where they've interviewed somebody, take the questions and get somebody to ask you those questions and see what you would say. Because saying you're from Bradford is like a fact, but it's not really going to make your biog interesting. What makes your biog interesting is, you know, what makes you tick and what makes your music sound the way it does, the way that you live your life, how you know, present yourself. It could be all of those things, but, you know, facts tend to not be the most interesting things. But yes, biog, so important, especially to radio people who are often on a show and they've got like 30 tracks to get out, and it's so important. If you've got a couple of lines of something that we can talk about, it really does help. If you haven't, you know, it's been quite difficult in COVID, obviously, because there's been no gigs. So it's like, yeah, they're playing at no, they're not playing at the Wardrobe. You know what I mean? It's like anything you can tell us is going to really help us. So
I actually write biogs for people as like a side job, you know, moonlighting, because the music industry's, you know, got to do lots of different things. And I find that facts are really good for, like, people need to know the facts, but then it's like, what do those facts mean? And then expanding on them. So yeah, great, you're from Bradford, that's great. But how has Bradford informed you in your music? Like, how has it made you who you are today? Whereabouts in Bradford are you from? What was the music like when, like, that you were listening to when you were growing up and stuff like that? Like, that's all really, really important. And it's all stemming from this fact that you're from Bradford. So it's like facts and then what the facts mean and the implications.
Totally. And I think in terms of like using social media and online platforms to tell your story, this is something that you have really embedded in your artistry, Chiedu. And I wonder if you could just tell us a little, sorry, there's a dog licking my toe. Could you tell us a little bit about how you have told your story using social media and other online platforms?
So for me, it was just like, I think there's a guy called Simon Sinek, did like a TED talk, and I was watching it one day, and he was like, people need to know your why. Like, why do you do this? Like, you need to sell your why. And then I had this tagline for ages, like the Black Yorkshireman, like Yorkshire, it's not really known for having a lot of black people, do you know what I mean? So I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna hone in on that. And like, so like my last EP was called Av Life, and what Av Life meant to me was like council estate confidence. So I'm always coming up with taglines that I can sell, which can marry into my brand and people buy into it. Do you know what I mean? The best person at doing that, in my opinion, from a UK rap perspective, is Bugsy Malone. I'm not massive on my guy's music, but he's always got something to say. Do you know what I mean? Everyone knows that he lived in this 1-bedroom flat in Manchester. He's from Bury New Road. Everyone knows that I'm from Norfolk Estate in Hull. Everyone knows that I represent a collective called Lockdown. So I've got these little taglines that I can sell, that people can feed into. I sell the merch, and it works with that. When I rap about some of the things like the Black Yorkshireman, Big CO. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, just people buy into it. People love it. Do you know what I mean? Like 21st Kid. I've got so many, but it's all part of my story as that black kid. Grew up on Norfolk Estate, the only black family on there. Everyone knows that, and I just represent the underdogs. And yeah, people just love it.
And I think like you've crafted that story, and that ties into loads of stuff that you do, and it also gives you like a base point to jump off, doesn't it? Like with like merch, you're able to sell merch, which generates income, but it's all tying into that story.
You rehearse it though. You just rehearse it. Like when people say, "Oh yeah, why do you do this music?" Like I know straight away. I know why I do it because I've rehearsed it. It's important because a lot of these artists don't even know why they do music. The main reason why I do music really is to retire my mum. Do you know what I mean? Like she worked quite hard for me to be in the position I am today. But a lot of people don't even know why they do it. They do it just to floss like with some jewels on Instagram, or do you know what I mean? Or have girls with fat bums in their videos and that. Like,
I mean, that's why I do it.
I'm not about that life, so I can only rap and tell people what I'm about. And I feel like authenticity always wins. You can always tell when someone's fake.
I actually, I've just done some work with a rapper from Bradford called Blazer Buckle.
Yeah,
Is anyone,
He's
you know
amazing.
Blazer? Yeah.
On Introduce him.
And he said for years he was making music that wasn't him, because he was listening to the radio and there was no one that sounded like him on the radio, and he was thinking, shit, I need to sound like all these rappers from London, and it wasn't authentic, and he could tell, and he wasn't happy making the music. And then as soon as he realized that being from Bradford and being this mixed race guy from Bradford could be a selling point, like his mum is Rastafarian and his dad is South Asian.
He's half Asian and half black, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like I don't even know anyone who's got that dynamic.
From BD3. Like, which is like a really, like he said, he grew up in a really white area of Bradford as well. And like, but he's made that his USP and he's embraced it. And suddenly his music's making sense and it's connecting with people, and it's so important. And I'm so glad that like some people in the audience have heard of him, because I'm a massive fan and I love him. But I've been there from, You're supporting him next Friday.
Yeah,
amazing.
He's good, man. He's very good, especially from a Yorkshire artist. And I was the same. Like I was obsessed with being like accepted in like the GRM Daily world, the Link Up team. I don't want to be accepted in that world because I'm my own guy. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't talk about a lot of the things what those guys are talking about. But I was so obsessed about being accepted by them guys. And if they're not going to accept me on my own like terms, then they're not for me. I don't care if they're the most popular. Like, it is what it is.
And that's like a really good way you can use social media to find the people who care about your story, and for you to express your story without having to like fit the mold of what's around you or what you think you need to be. And I think everyone has really different experiences kind of promoting themselves online. Like it's kind of the beast that everyone has to befriend in some ways, but there's really creative things that you can do. Does anybody have any like practical tips, I suppose, of like, other than like finding your USP and being authentic and selling your story, like just tips of using social media well, or like some amazing online engagement that you've seen?
I think it really is about being your authentic self, isn't it? It's like, I don't know if you've heard of an artist, he's from Derbyshire actually, it's called Casey Lowry, but you see all these memes on TikTok and he just takes them and then writes a little like lyric song where he just sits on his bed, very simple, plays an acoustic guitar and sings this lyric out and then adds a little bit on the end. My God, he's got like 1 million+ followers on TikTok now. And it just blows my mind that people find a little niche or a little kind of, it's lighthearted, and it's not really about what he is as a musician, but that has got him so much attention on TikTok, Instagram, and now, you know, big label involved and all of that, and it's given him opportunities. And sometimes I just think it's good to look around, see what other people are doing, and seeing, you know, you have your own ideas because you're an individual and you might do something even more mind-blowing, but just sometimes simple things can give you a good platform and give you opportunities because you're being truly your authentic self. He is a little bit kooky and his personality is a little bit like that, so he's just being himself, and that's what kind of brought me to it, but it's brought a lot of people to it as well.
Yeah, and I feel like you can't plan that either. Like you can't strategize your way into that, I suppose. I guess that's digging down into who you are. I mean, we all saw how popular sea shanties got earlier this year. I feel like if you're really into sea shanties, then maybe you've missed your boat. But, you know, there might be a similar thing that is for you. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's really good. And I think, you know, from, again, an artist's perspective, like social media and online seems really annoying, but it also opens so many doors. It's how you can express yourself. It's how you can tell people about your gigs, get them to your shows, get them listening to your music, and like pinch of salt, I think. You don't have to love it, but I think doing it is definitely a good idea until you're like Lord, who literally doesn't need Instagram because she's a queen.
She's got a food review Instagram though. She's got a secret Instagram where she reviews like onion rings. It's really funny.
Love that.
There you go. That's exactly it,
No,
though.
but that's another thing though. Like when you're on social media, you don't have to be just like buy this, come to this show. Do other stuff. So like over lockdown, I got really into my fitness. Like I was doing my 5K runs.
You really can't tell.
Yeah, well, not with this in my hand, but. And obviously, I was doing I was posting like little workouts on my story and stuff like that, and then I did like this thing called the dilemma show where I was like people would send me in their dilemmas and I'd like talk about them, and it was a bit weird and that, but it got traction though. That's what I mean. Like do other things. You don't have to just be music. Like your brand can be spread across so many sort of different stuff.
So it's showing your personality as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's like a pyramid, a social media pyramid. I forget where I found it online, but it basically says about, you know, don't just talk about yourself, you know, talk about other people, talk about, you know, other things that you're interested in, maybe the place that you're based in, you know, sharing content around that. And I think that is really important to kind of paint a wider picture of yourself rather than just this machine that makes music or is interested in certain genres or something like that.
Yeah,
it is giving that personality and that added
Definitely.
bonus of, and different things on each platform as well, because no one's going to follow you on different platforms if they're just getting the same content on all of those spaces. But if you've got something special that you're really good at, why wouldn't people be interested? You might even open up a different audience to yourself.
Just test out the waters. Like I remember I left a tweet and it just got so much traction. And it was just like, what did I say? I said, Norfolk Estate has gone soft. If a black man can do a 5K run in the snow and not one kid has thrown a snowball at me. And for some reason, it just blew up. Like people was liking it, followers. Like you just got to try these things. And that was by accident. Like I didn't realize I was that funny, but.
Oh, babe. Hilarious.
I think as well that all feeds back into like the why and the story, doesn't it? It's all coming back to that, like knowing your sense of self and that wider sense of self beyond the music, and just creating that like narrative around yourself and expressing that narrative as well, like not holding it back. And actually, Shell, I kind of wanted to ask you a bit about this because you work like so much in radio, really. But like, how do people like come to you? What makes them stand out when someone comes to you? Is it the story? Is it the music? Is it the combination of everything coming together?
Firstly, it's the music, you know, like you were saying about the best content, you know, sharing your best music is the most important thing because, you know, you listen to an uploader and I listen to BBC Introducing, for instance, there's probably over 100 tracks per show per week. And then if I'm listening to Amazing, there's 650 every week, pretty much, because we get stuff from all over the world. And, you know, the cream rises to the top. You know, you want to play the stuff that you think is the best. And that's the reality of it. So always, it's really important to have the strongest track. And that doesn't always mean things that are highly produced. I play a lot of bedroom pop and stuff like that. You know, it's about the songwriting, it's about the melody, it's about the skill. You know, you can tell that when you listen to so many tracks. You know, each individual will always have a little bit of a bias for what they prefer genre-wise. I do try my hardest, but it also depends on what comes in the uploader as well. So, you know, there is that. But then, of course, when you've got a good bio and you've got a good photo, or, you know, anything like that that's going to be eye-catching and is going to draw you in, is really important. But then from there on, when you've got that person's attention, you've played that first track, every time you upload a track, I will remember the name. You know, I will know that they've been on my playlist. So I'll be more intrigued to listen to that track and probably give it a little bit longer to listen to it, because you can't listen to every track in full, not when you're listening to 650 a week, you know, for a show. So you do like have a little listen, and then you'll flip through and see what happens a little bit further on. And then if there is something in there that captures you, you will playlist it to listen to it in full. That's the way it works for me. But all those different things you can do to stand out, but really it all is about the quality of the song. So what you were saying earlier on about making sure you've got somebody else that's there to listen, to give you honest feedback on your music. And yeah, there's things you can do, listening to the radio shows and stuff. You can listen to what's being played, you know, and pitch your music at a DJ that you know is into the genre of music that you're making. These are all things that are going to strengthen your chances of getting airplay. But I would definitely, there's so many easy ways to do homework right now, like the difference between listening to a BBC local show like Introducing, or listening to the Radio 1 Introducing show and seeing, you know, what's the difference? What is making that track go from local to national? And, you know, by listening a lot, I think it can help you work out what, but sometimes it probably means eventually at that stage to get on the nationals, you do need to pay a bit more attention to production, to mixing, to mastering, to those things that do cost a bit more, and probably, you know, you might not be so knowledgeable on in the early days, and that's okay, because it's a story, it's a progression, it's time. I think everyone has this idea that things happen overnight, and they really don't. Like, even artists I've seen drop amazing tunes, they've had to go back to basics, and it can be like 3 years or something before they are down the line releasing that formally with a label of some description. But yeah, it's very competitive, but you know, you can do your very best to put your best foot forward. Always lead with your strongest track, always.
And if you send like a different track in every week because you've written 400 songs, you've got a whole hard drive of songs at home, people like Shell are going to recognize your name from last week, remember that they were underwhelmed by last week's track, and probably dismiss you this week, I think, even with a better song, right?
It becomes a little bit of an issue. I think it's a great idea to think, you know, if you're creating, I see a lot of artists going, I'm going to create a track and release a track every month. And it sounds great. It sounds like you're really pushing yourself to develop. But in the other side of it, a radio station can't get the rotation. So if you're on a commercial station, like, you know, XS Manchester, there's a great band called the Lottery Winners. They've done amazing stuff in lockdown. They've really like capitalized and pushed themselves forward, including writing a sea shanty, which they got Nickelback to collaborate on, which was a Nickelback song. But, you know, they've really pushed themselves forward. They've got an album coming. Obviously, there's a lot of delays at the minute with vinyl. So they're like, right, we're going to push out another single ahead of the vinyl because we've had to delay it. And we're like, wow, we're like rotating 2 tunes and they're dropping another one. We've got 3 tunes. We can't play all those 3 tunes because then it makes you look bad that you're not playing other artists. So you can get like, you know, editors of the station controllers just getting a little bit like, what do we do? Do we drop that one? But we really like that one. And the listeners really like that one. Do we start playing this new one now? Has it got longevity in it? That's what I said about, you know, there was always a 3-month lead in, and now all of a sudden that's gone. We're like, yeah, this tune dropped yesterday. Here you go. That's what we kind of get now.
Catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't really win, but also, you know, like you were saying, if you're underwhelmed by that artist, you want to be, well, hey, you want to be a little bit hungry. You want to be a bit like, yeah, I haven't heard anything from them for ages. Can't wait to hear this. But also, if you're rushing stuff out, maybe, I'm not saying it's not going to be top quality, but the chances are you've not thrown absolutely everything at it that you could do in terms of promotion, in terms of PR, in terms of campaign. I think it is better to leave people wanting a little bit more and show that progression between each release as well. I think that's a really kind of important, but you know, it doesn't, I'm not the god of all knowledge. It's just what I see. And you know, you want people to be a little bit hungry for your music, and you want it to be the best it can be for everyone to fall in love with it.
Yeah, because you care. So you want other people to care as well. You want to get people on that bandwagon, really. And Simon, I feel like you're aching to tell us something.
I'll share some questions in an interview style. What's the shortest amount of time we would give a record? Honestly, as well. How long do you think? Do you think like 6 to 8 weeks between a singles is that's what we sort of usually say?
Yeah, I think that's a good amount of time. 6 to 8 weeks is fair, and I think, you know, that gives you, say on BBC Introducing in West Yorkshire, for instance, I think there's probably a maximum of three or four spins that we'll give to a track, and then we might play it again if we have them in session or there's some reason like they've got a show or a state, you know, a gig or something like that. But so you think about it, if you're going to aim at maybe a max of 3 spins, then you're not too bad if you're looking 6 to 8 weeks. But if you're doing things more regularly than that, then you're going to be like, right, oof. Same with uploading 2 tunes at once. You're always going to get precedence over one tune rather than the other. So I would say just pick your best tune and upload one, and then save that one or work on that one a bit more, because
gives it some time to grow as well.
Yeah.
Get your intro play, and then maybe the week after you might get the national play, and then the week after you might get something else because of that.
It can take weeks to get the national play, but you know, because it depends what's happening. Like there was a few weeks recently where there was a soul show, an R&B covering on Introducing, and there was a dance special. So there was 2 weeks of soul and R&B, and then a week of like electronic. So if you're an indie artist, you weren't going to get played for a month. So always, you know, don't worry, just get your music up there. That's the most important thing, getting your music out there and putting your best foot forward, you know, getting a team built around you and things like that. These are all things that help you progress down the line. But, you know, and always put your best track out online. I would always say focus on one. Same with Amazing Radio. You can upload a whole album to Amazing Radio, but if we listen to one track per artist and we can click just one track, we might listen to the last track of your album, which might not be your best track. So always focus on sharing your best track, the track that you want people to listen to.
I think, sorry, go on, Simon.
Because I was going to say, the reason I asked about the music is because the amount of time is we got told, like, it's a long time ago, but when we were sending demos to record companies and stuff, they were like, you get 6 seconds.
Yeah, you probably do.
6, yeah.
And that's like...
Yeah, you probably realistically do.
And with Spotify, obviously, nowadays, it gets slightly like, I can't remember, is it 30 seconds skip is really bad. Yeah. And a minute skip is not so, you know, like you'll get off playlists and stuff if everyone's skipping after 30 seconds. Is
30
that right?
second skip, you don't get paid.
You don't get paid either. So like, really, you got to like, impress, like now more than ever, just impress like what's happening. Like, don't have a long intro.
No, absolutely.
Don't have a long intro. Don't send a song that's like white noise for the first 10 seconds because you're being experimental, and then the song starts because they'll have switched off during the white noise.
I mean, it's different when you're looking at it from a radio perspective, because I love Low Island, right? Low Island are playing in Manchester tomorrow, and I love them so much that I'm DJing in support. And I was listening to their album as I was walking the dog earlier on, and I was like, God, this opening track has got the hellest longest intro. If that was a radio track, I'd have been like, right, I'm flicking on by now. But because it's an album track, and but I was like, that's a long track to draw you in the intro. If that was in Radio World and they were pitching that song, that single to radio, it'd have been like, God, no.
You can always have 2 versions as well, can't you? You can
radio edit.
Get the guy or girl who mixes your song to mix you a radio edit with a much shorter intro, and then
but you know, pitch your music to radio, for instance. You know, make sure you've got swear edits ready and you're uploading the swear edits. If you're uploading to radio edits, you know, the shorter the track is, the more likely you are to squeeze into a playlist. Tom Robinson's very open about giving lots of tips about getting airplay on his 6 Music show, and he said that if it's a 2-minute track, I'm more likely to play it than if it's a 6-minute track, because I might be able to get 2 or 3 tracks in that time. And that's really important, to squeeze as many new artists artists in as you can when you're working in emerging music radio.
I think it's all tactical, isn't it? Like you have to be, it's obviously creative. It's obviously about the love of it and the music, but there's also tactics at play here. How often you're releasing, how long your songs are, have you done your radio edits, are you running a good social campaign, are your bios updated? And the same with approaching media. Like, don't email all of the major publications that you want to get a review in with the same single in case they all do it or none of them do it, and then you've already contacted them all and you can't do it again. Or don't email someone who isn't the right person for your music, because they're just going to go, but you've obviously done no research.
I did write an article for the Musicians Union at the beginning of lockdown last year. It's still pinned at the top of my Twitter account at Zenner if you want to find it. It's got loads of different tips about that, how to do homework, how to put your best foot forward, and you know who to pitch to and find those kind of people. And just you know, it's some of it is just common sense. I think, you know, be nice, isn't it?
Don't harass
it's a
people.
really small industry. Everybody does know each other pretty much, and you want to be one of the people that are remembered for being respectful and, you know, be nice, be kind.
Yeah. The guy who does like the Guardian New Band of the Day, like sometimes he just covers a band that have just emailed him with a link to their SoundCloud. Like he doesn't even, like there's no press person in between or anything. And he's just like, these people just seem really nice and their music's really good, so I'm going to write about them in the Guardian. So just goes to show, be nice to people.
I always say, like, you know, if you're wanting a gig with somebody, surely you want a gig with a promoter excuse me, who's promoting people that you think your sound has a resonance with. So that's how I'd reach out to journalists, radio people and promoters, is basically looking at the people that you aspire to be like, or the people that you think you have synergy with. Maybe even speak to them and see if they have any tips or any ins or any suggestions, because actually being friends with other artists is like a really important networking thing to get yourself opportunities and support slots as well.
We actually did a full panel on this like last year. So if anybody wants to find out more about like doing your own bios and approach, like making your own PR and approaching the media, you can find the panel. You were on it.
Was I?
Yes, you were.
Was it?
You can find it on our YouTube and on our Facebook page, on the Launchpad page, if anybody just wants to, because there's a whole world to delve into there. And so if anybody wants to find out more, then please go and check that out. Pushing along just a little bit, like how, as an artist, so say you've got a single and you are like, great, I'm going to send this out and I'm going to run a social campaign and I'm going to play that gig. And then you have no plan for afterwards. I feel like that is something that loads of people fall into. And the concept of like medium to long-term planning is something that can be quite scary, but I think is really, really useful. And Simon, I know you work with a lot of our Launchpad artists. Like, you're laughing like, here we go. You work with a lot of our Launchpad artists on looking at planning. Do you have any tips that you tend to share with a lot of artists, or are there any similarities that come up?
I just think having like all your ducks in a line early on. So we get a lot of people who are like, I want to release this song, and then we're going to release another single, but they haven't written it yet or whatever. And we try and just get people to sort of have a little body of work, even if it's just a couple of you know, singles or 2 or 3 singles, not necessarily a whole album or anything. And we got told as well at Spotify, if you're pitching to Spotify, if you go, oh, we're doing an EP and this is the first single, you know, if you submit everything at the same time so they can see it's all there and it's all going to happen, they like to see that, you know, like, so it helps you get playlisted and stuff.
Such a little tip, such a little one, but it makes such a difference. I remember as well, someone, it might be you saying, like, if you're going to upload your music to BBC Introducing, do it on a Monday morning, because there's probably someone in the office on a Monday morning.
Always bear in mind that most of the shows go out on a Saturday night. Some of them get pre-recorded on a Thursday. So I would say Wednesday to Thursday is probably the optimal day to upload for BBC Introducing, because then you know that you'll be relatively at the top of the pile. Yeah, interesting about that campaign thing, though, because, you know, we talk about how easy it is to get played on the nationals from BBC Introducing. Obviously, we can forward the tracks across to loads of different shows. But also, they won't playlist it, say like introducing track of the week on Radio 1 or 1 Extra, unless they know you're ready for it. Because if you're not ready for it, how can you capitalize on it? You know, you can have everything in, you can have a brilliant song, but if they know you don't have a team around you or you've no way to push it forward after you've done that, it's almost a bit of a wasted opportunity because you can only get that once. So sometimes it's better to take your time to be in the right place and have those things around you. Even if you're doing if you're releasing independently and you're not working with a label, as long as you've got a manager or you've got part of your team together, that you've got some gigs lined up or things that are going to allow you to really push it forward. It's almost like don't fast forward the situation if you're not going to be able to benefit from it. So I think exactly what you're saying, then having a plan of what you've got down the line is so important.
Well, like sending stuff to, like, I sent something to John Kennedy and he was like, oh yeah, I love this, I'd like to play it. What's happening? It was in lockdown and I was like, nothing. Do you know what I mean? Which, as you say, just giving
So
the
hard.
DJ something, 2 lines to say on the way in or out, just makes a big difference to actually getting to play or what the plan is. And obviously now I think everybody can do gigs or support someone or whatever. So it just makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, making sure you've got lots of music, lots of great music, all in the bag, ready to go, and get the team sorted out and just have, you know, just be ready to go. And then be happy to like do that, have a break to write some more. Like you don't have to do it every month. Have faith that if you make a big impact for 3 months, then 6 months later, people will still remember, you know.
I was talking to Hull from RTO and Hull was like, we've just mapped out this whole thing in lockdown because we've not been able to do anything. And it's like, right, this is an EP and then there's going to be another EP and we've got all these in the bag and we're working on new stuff and we've got shows. We've used platforms like set up a Discord channel and things like that for their fans. So their fans get like premiere information or access to stuff. There's things that people have been able to do to capitalize and keep themselves focused, as well as having a plan all mapped out. And it's like, well, that might not work out the way that you want it to or as well as you want it to, but at least you've started learning that process now, which you can only benefit from down the line, I think.
Yeah, and adapting to the times and things that change, like have a plan but be willing to change it, or at least have some kind of targets that you might change your route there, but you know, kind of like your next step. As an artist manager, do you find that is something you do a lot with your artists? Like, are you talking about what their next 6 months are going to be? You can talk about their next 2 years.
Oh, it's chaos. So yes, we have rough ideas, we have rough plans, but no one ever writes anything down for fear that it will change tomorrow. And it does change all the time because you can have this whole plan mapped out and then Lord invites you to support her on US tour or something like that. You've got to be really flexible, like nothing is concrete. But yes, it's always good to have a plan. And I assess a lot of funding applications, and quite often funding applications will ask you what your plan is. So if you apply for the Momentum Fund, which is the PRS and PPL initiative, which I really do recommend people applying for, especially if they're on their second or third album and they need the funds to kind of, in order to kind of elevate, in order to step up to the next level, and they're already kind of on a roll. They will ask you what your plan is. And if you don't have a plan, it's really obvious if you're just making stuff up. Like, it's really obvious if it's not well thought through. And I think it's just a really good exercise for any artist just to set goals for themselves, like a 3-month goal, a 6-month goal, a 1-year goal, 5-year goal even, you know, like where do you want to be and what do you actually want out of this? Because if it's unclear to you, it's going to be unclear to everyone else. And when you're approaching people that, you know, you want to work with and stuff like that, if you're not clear in what you want, then how do you expect them to help you to deliver it for you? Like, it's, think of a plan, but be flexible with it.
Is this something that you find that you've done with your music, Chiedu, or no?
What, planning?
Yeah,
definitely. Like, so I got accepted for the MOBO Help Musicians Fund, so early this year, and that was to release an EP. And these was all singles from the year before that I knew what time of months, what month to release one in, the order that I was going to release it in. Like, so yeah, planning that, and that's the reason why I got the funding, because I had a decent plan. Like, if I didn't have a decent plan, I wouldn't have got the money. So it's definitely important. Like, you see all these artists that you all like, what we all look up to, are on major labels, but they've all got plans, they've got teams. Do you know what I mean? And like, really, if you're trying to even compete with them or trying to get your music played on the same shows they're getting played on, like, you've got to have a plan.
90% of working at a major label is just planning meetings. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are just spending all their time planning stuff for the artist. So if you're independent and you're not planning, you're really going to be left out. You're going to fall behind.
Also, if it's not like, if you're just a new artist and it's just you starting out and you've got everyone's got jobs and other stuff that's in their lives, and there's, from my experience, you've got like 5 indie boys. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, unless you like someone says we're going to do this thing on this date, then we would never do anything. Like we'd been in a band before, to be fair, but when we started Kaisers, the day we started Kaisers, we booked a gig, and it was like 3 months' time. We were like, right, we had no songs. We were like, by then we have to have 6, 7 songs.
Yeah.
And then we did the gig, and we did whatever the minimum required was, but we got there and we did the gig, and it was good, you know. And I just think without that, we would have just been meandering about trying to find a style and, you know, going to the pub.
But yeah, with my band, we book rehearsals. We've got our rehearsals for February next year booked right now, because it's the only way we can guarantee. I mean, someone will still not be able to make it, but like, that's the only way we can guarantee that we are going to get our work done to like get where we want to be by April next year.
Set like ambitious goals in the future, and you'll find that, like, if you're anything like me, I can only work to a deadline. If it's like intangible and nebulous and it's just like, oh, we'll get it done sometime before 2025, and it's like, I'll never get it done. But if I've got a gig in 3 months or whatever, then it's like, shit, better get to it. Like, and then you'll make it work.
Yeah, I feel like no one will take you seriously if you don't have some sort of plan. So,
yeah, but you have to be flexible as well.
Yeah, true.
Does it even exist if you don't have a plan?
Yeah,
No,
it's not real.
No, it's not.
An apparition appears on the stage.
I think it's motivational as well as kind of like visualizing. You know what I mean? If you want to get somewhere, almost you've got to like visualize it and really, really want to run at it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, manifest, exactly.
Manifest.
Yeah, and honestly, the value in that is unbelievable. Even myself, I do that kind of stuff. And also I have a roll of honor. I do a list every year which says all the things I've achieved this year, and you know, those small things can make you keep going when you're feeling at a low ebb, or you're feeling like you're not getting where you want to go and not achieving what you want to achieve, can make you reevaluate.
That accountability is so important, I think, because like in music, it can feel like your long-term goals are so far away or unattainable that you kind of forget how much you have learned and achieved, like in the short to medium term.
You just have to kind of have a list of it to remind yourself. I think it's so important to do that kind of thing. But we spend so much time running at stuff, not enough time thinking about exactly where we want to go. Like you were saying, you really need to think about where you want to go, why you want to get there, and how you're going to get there. What are the steps to get there? And then put your plans in action.
I think as well, we just mentioned there are a few different opportunities that are out there to help people to get there, because it's all well and good being like, yeah, we're going to do it now. Yes.
Sounds easy.
And then just be like, oh, but wait a minute, I don't actually know what a press pack is. Or, you know, and just like hit these stumbling blocks. But there is so much help out there, and so many different organizations who want to assist. Like Launchpad is just one of them. And like Launchpad is a Yorkshire specific one, but there are so many others that are based all across the UK or like more regionally than that. And we've mentioned a few different funds as well. Like we've mentioned the Momentum Fund.
The Momentum Fund is so important. And they actually tweeted, PPL or PRS Foundation tweeted recently after the Mercury nominations were announced that, like, I can't remember what percentage it was of Mercury noms had received Momentum funding in the past, but it was over half.
Yeah, it was like 60 or 70.
It was about 2/3 of all the Mercury nominations from this year. So that's like Arlo Parks and
other
Little
musicians.
Sims, Laura Mavula, who else? I don't know. But like 2/3 of them had received PRS Foundation funding in the past, which I think is really impressive. So asking for this funding that's available to you isn't a way of saying, I can't make it by myself. Like, you know, it's a normal thing. It's a normal step in the process. And there is all this funding available to you. And I'm a judge, and I want you all to apply and send your best music, because I just like listening to great new music. And it's a really great honor.
Also, it's a great way to start that, you know, organization planning situation, because it really does make you think. There is a specific Yorkshire accelerator as well for PRS and PPL at the moment. I'm not sure when the deadline is.
Today.
Is it today?
6
You
PM.
may have missed it, but this is a great opportunity to look it up for next time. But also, I think places like Help Musicians of, you know, they do it differently. Fund has been really supportive for a lot of artists.
And it's now open on a rolling basis. You don't have to wait for a deadline. Just whenever you want support, you just go on and you can apply at any point, like at any time. There's also funds to collaborate with other people who are non-music makers who help musicians, and like for personal development. You've had the mobile fund through them. You know, there is so much support out there. I think it's just sometimes finding it and realizing like it is for you as well. Whenever they're talking about these music creators, like they do mean you. And if you get rejected, you should apply again.
You normally get feedback. And all I can say, my one piece of advice from applying for these funds would be like, take the feedback on board, like listen to the feedback, because we work really hard as judges to be really constructive in our feedback. So yeah, take it all on board. And it might just be that you're a year too early. It might just be that your plan wasn't well thought out enough. These are all things that you can change. It's nothing to do with the quality of your music. So yeah, just listen to what they have to say when they come back to you.
Also depends who's submitted each time. I've been also reviewing when, you know, we've had like loads of artists from Scotland and then one artist from Scotland, and you're like, well, you would have got it if you'd have, you know, you'd had a strong chance of getting it if you'd applied the second time. So keep applying, but like you say, take that feedback as well. But also there's other avenues. There's not just the Momentum Fund. There's like Hitmaker. If you're a producer, you're great at making other people's music sound great. Ben Matravers, who did some of Easy Life's work, who's based in Leeds, he just got Hitmaker Fund, which is really
One of my
great.
producers got it a couple of years ago, and it meant that he could quit his job as a waiter. It literally changed his life.
Set up a studio and actually be able to throw yourself at that. And I think there's a Women Make Music Fund as well. So if you're a woman making music and, you know, you're not at the level where you want to like put an album out, because Momentum's really album, isn't it? Then, you know, you can get maybe up to $5,000 or something from Women Make Music. So it's well worth doing the homework in all these different organizations that support funding in music. Definitely.
You can find them signposted on the Launchpad music website as well, so that they're all in one convenient place rather than having to troll the internet all by yourself.
Musicians Union, I think, has got a database of all the different grants and bursaries and funding that you can apply for, and you kind of type in like what area you're looking and what your gender is and all this stuff, and it'll tell you what's available to you.
Amazing. So just as well, seeing as we're at a Launchpad event, I feel like it makes sense to talk a little bit about Launchpad. So there is actually another round of Launchpad support opening in the next 2 or 3 weeks as well, which is amazing, because that's kind of like as well for, you know, you're like we're saying, you might not be ready to apply for Momentum Fund or Momentum Accelerator, but maybe you're more at a Launchpad stage where, you know, you could really benefit from some mentoring or, you know, just that little bit of the cash injection or whatever it is. So do keep an eye out in the next 2 or 3 weeks for that opening again. A lot of these people actually judge the applications as well. So it's not just robots, like it's actual people. And, you know, as well, we also run online advice sessions, because you can come and talk to us about what you might apply with. Like you can even have a plan to submit to Launchpad. Like this is the kind of planning levels we're talking about. Does anyone have any kind of final things they want to throw in there before we open it up for some questions? No?
I must be the worst Launchpad judge ever, because I don't like judging anyone really badly. So like it's supposed to be out of, like, you mark all these things out of 10 and I'm like, oh, like no one gets less than a 5 in anything. So it's like, it's actually a scale of like 5 to 10. Like in all the different groups. Whiskers must hate me. But
I think
sorry,
it's really important to don't underestimate the value of something like mentoring, because if you're not sure where you're going, what are the best places for you to go to, directions to head in, I think that the mentoring is a really great place to start, and I think that's really invaluable.
Lots of people say they don't need mentoring, and I'm like, you do.
Yeah.
Not in a horrible way, just that I can tell from their plan that they would really benefit from speaking to someone who's done it before.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just say, I just want the money, but the mentoring's probably more valuable.
I think so.
And I think speaking to someone like Sai could just be just as valuable as like thousands of pounds. I mean,
it's just wasting. We always have the thing about wasting the money as well. Getting the money how you're going to spend it. You've got to commit. Talking to Chiedu actually about committing to so you're going to get a radio plugger, for instance, or a press person or whatever. It's a relationship that's got to it doesn't just go right, we've got a radio plugger and now we're on Radio 1, the playlist of Radio 1. It's you get one and then you might not need one. First of all, do you need these people to start off with? Can you do it yourself to start off with? Because it's obviously that's cheaper. But then when you do get to the stage where you need those people, you're committing to long term, they're going to be forming relationships with DJs or journalists. So you're going to be paying them for 3, 4, 5, 2 albums, 9 albums, whatever. So that's a big commitment. So, but are you ready? Your band or as an artist, are you ready for that? Have you got the plan? Have you got the money?
Yeah,
etc.
And just be careful of people, snake oil merchants, who say that they can guarantee to get you playlisting or radio plays or anything like that. There are so many companies now that I just think artists come to me and they say, I've just given this company £2,500 for my EP campaign, and I've never heard of this company and I don't know what they do with your money, but they are not going to deliver results. So if you're ever in doubt, just speak to someone who's been there, who's been in the industry a few years. Anyone would be happy to tell you whether handing over thousands of pounds is a good idea or not to a company they've never heard of. Just don't get ripped off.
People as well. That's my tip actually. It's try and find. I think it happens less now, but try and find the people who love your project. Even maybe they're not the biggest and best people, the biggest label, whatever. If they really love it, then they're going to push it harder. So when we started, we were really lucky, and we had a radio guy and a press guy fairly early, and they both just did it for free until we got signed because they had total faith that it would happen, which I think is quite rare. But just obviously they kept them forever. So just try and find those passionate, those what do you call it, friends?
Yeah, and a lot of people. I mean, if your music is really up there, I mean, early Kaisers was obviously an exceptional example because all the songs were just of such high quality. But there we go, but if your music is really, really good, people will offer to work for free, especially junior people, really established companies, but the junior people in the office who are just, maybe you're their first account, that they're doing by themselves, their first campaign, and they'll do it for free for the experience in exchange for the promise that you'll hire them when you sign your £500,000 record deal or whatever, so don't hand over loads of money for an EP campaign to a company that when you Google them, you can't find any other artists that use them,
Or speak to your peers, if you know other bands that have had success, kind of moving in the same genre field as you, maybe speak to the people that they're working with, because you're more likely to get a decent response from that than if you're pitching at the right people and they know, because really all you're paying for is someone who says they have a better connection with the radio station or a closer relationship than you do. Also, being a great self-starter and getting some of these things off your own back is really good, looks good on funding forms, and also when you're trying to get someone to actually do that for you paid will look better because they'll have a basis to start on to move forward with. And even those spot plays, and I know everyone says, a spot play doesn't do anything and can't get you anywhere, but actually they're things to add into your biog, aren't they? Saying you've had play on Amazing Radio, BBC Introducing, Clash have reviewed your single, or whichever publication it is has showed you support. all helps the story, all helps push you further forward little by little.
And you get
When
one,
an artist emails me saying, please can you manage me, if they've just even just a spot play on BBC Introducing, I'm like, well, you know,
Yeah, I'll have a listen.
do you know what I mean? It's actually really impressive because it means they've actually been selling their music out. They're actually proactive. They're serious about this, you know. Just another thing, my experience, DSP pitches, people who say they can get your stuff playlisted on Spotify, tend to be con artists. There aren't many in the UK who are very good at it. And if anyone wants to come and speak to me afterwards, I can talk about why. But a lot of people who say they can get your songs playlisted on Spotify and Apple Music are not being honest. And that's just honest advice from me.
There we go. Chiedu, any final tips from you at all?
I think just home in on that why, like why you do it. Do you know what I mean? Make sure you attach that to your brand and you're always going back to that.
Okay, amazing. Thank you very much, everyone. I think we're going to open it up for some questions. So does anyone, firstly, in the room here at the Mill TV in Bradford, have any questions they'd like to ask anyone here on the panel?
Our phone numbers.
Maybe email.
Email addresses, yeah. Sorry. I'm actually really responsive on Instagram and Twitter, and nowadays you don't really need anyone's phone number, do you? You can just hit them up online on socials. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone will be tagged. If you go on the Launchpad Instagram, you'll find everyone tagged through there anyway.
Yeah, not
If that's
geotagged,
helpful.
though.
No.
No, you're not tracking me.
No. And we had another question just over there.
Oh, yeah. First of all, thank you for the panel. It was really, really informative, really, really useful. So my name's Chris. I've been doing a music and management masters at Uni of Leeds this year. And one of the things that I've been looking at in particular has been the rise of artist and label services. So Mydem published a report about, how independents are starting to challenge the major labels a bit more. You're seeing a much greater market share. And more independent artists are obviously making a living from their music. Obviously, COVID is a bit of an exception that changed things. But what I wanted to ask was, where you've got this in-between of DIY artists and also artists looking for management, do you think that there's almost like a gap for where people are at their career? So something I've looked at in particular is the idea of having a music consultant. So where you said, that there's plenty of resources and mentorship out there, how do you actually select what's most useful and what's most valuable for you? So I just wanted to see if, you had any thoughts on the idea of music consultancy as a model for artists to utilize.
I do a bit of like A&R consultancy and stuff like that. So people will come to me and like if the project's not really working, and I'll come up with ideas to kind of get it moving again. So setting up sessions, that sort of thing, building a different team around them and stuff like that. I have to say, you're better working with people who work on commission rather than a retainer. I know PRs work on retainer, but management, agent, even lawyers only get paid when you've got legal work to do. They're not on retainer. Record label obviously only works when you're working, when you're making money. If you surround yourselves with people who only make money when you make money, you're onto a winner. Whereas if you're just paying someone like £500 a month to advise you on music, that's not a good relationship situation you want to be in. And it probably won't have very positive outcomes.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult situation, isn't it? I think exactly what you're saying there is right. I mean, there's a lot of faith when somebody is invested in your music, and if they're willing to do things for free, then it shows that they are really invested in your music. However, down the line, there are the legal side of things is a little bit sketchy. I think that's the thing that you've got to have really bottomed out fully. I think being able to trust people that you work with and knowing that they've got your own best interests at heart and they really do want you to succeed rather than doing it for their own benefit. I think it's easier said than done, isn't it? How do you measure and gauge the goodness in somebody? it's really hard. I think a lot of us have probably learned the hard way by investing our time and effort into somebody who's then, dog's doing a great job of tying herself up here, you know, investing time and effort in someone, and then you've been burnt by that, you know, you've lost an opportunity, or when it came down to it. I know a lot of successful musicians that have turned their back on, you know, the whole concept of the classic music industry experience of getting signed by a label, getting a manager, and have taken things into their own hands because they feel that they know what's best for them. But it takes a lot of time and knowledge in the industry to be able to do that. And that's it. I also think it depends on your journey and your music and where you're aiming to get to as to what model works best for you. Music consultancy sounds great, and it's probably something I actually do a lot of, really, in many ways. But, you know, I don't see an artist that's just starting out thinking that it's okay to invest their money like that. They're probably more likely to invest their money in good production, good mixing, good mastering to make the music sound as good as it can at that point, in my experience anyway.
Yeah.
But
if you're just sending out demos to people like me, don't worry too much about getting all your songs mastered. I know people who spend loads of money getting all their songs mixed and mastered, and they don't even plan on releasing them. It's just a show reel to send to managers or whatever. We've got ears, we can hear the potential in a song. It doesn't have to be really, really polished. So spend a lot of money on production by all means, maybe even a mix, but definitely doesn't need to be mastered if you're not releasing it.
There we go. I hope that answered your question for you.
Yeah, it did. So just one more question, and then I'll let someone else obviously ask. The other one that I want to ask about was the idea of kind of like fan-based investment. So where you've got artists at the beginning and they're getting their core fan base, the whole idea that you can get, you know, your 1,000 true fans, and, you know, with that, they can sustain your career. You know, with everything that's going on with like blockchain and smart contracts and NFTs at the moment, do you think there's going to be more artists looking to, you know, basically give up 50% of, you know, the ownership of a song? The idea that, you know, if the song grows, the fans grow with it. You know, there's a kind of an investment in the artist, both from an emotional perspective, but also from a financial reward incentive.
I think NFTs are a really interesting thing that you mentioned, and like, I think they actually have appeal for artists at all levels. Like The Weeknd released some NFTs, and then I think like an independent artist who released through Ditto recently, a rapper, who was it?
Big Zoo.
An NFT.
Big Zoo.
Big Zoo, yeah. He released an NFT that was also blockchain attached to the earnings from a song. So for like, I think about £1,000, you could buy a 10% share of the song or something like that. Or it was around that. Yeah, I think NFTs are really, really interesting. I don't personally understand how blockchain works. So maybe on to someone else. But yeah, no, if you've got the fans, exploit the NFT thing. If you can understand it.
I've got to admit, it's all a bit like a grey area to me. I do know independent artists, like there's an artist called Pen Friend that's definitely worth looking up. She's done a lot of stuff off her own back. You know, obviously a few people have found it hard to be funded by other people, but oh geez, come on. But you know, she's really set up what she call a correspondence club, where people can invest in the product before she creates it. And she's like been really self-sufficient and really independent. I think there is value in that.
Imogen Heap as well released an album via blockchain, didn't she, a couple of years ago? So it's for artists at all levels, of all ages, and yeah, I mean, look into how you can make it work for you. Do you need the fan base first, though? I mean, it goes without saying, like, if no one's going to buy your NFTs.
I think for new artists, because the question was about new artists, right? I think, and like for new artists, I know a guy who sort of is very independent and does like release his own records, and he'll sell quite a nice number, like 1,500 vinyls and whatever every time he does it, and he makes his whole living out of it, does some touring. But it's taken him sort of 10 years to
Yeah,
build
yeah.
to that level where he's totally self-sufficient. So
And
it takes a long
that's
time.
What's your measure of success? Because that's similar to Pen and Friend. As long as she is working full time in a creative pursuit, making her music, she sees that as success.
Mm-hmm.
She has had support by Six Music, but she knows that her niche is not like Radio 1, etc. So it's almost like setting your stall out, and her stall is to, you know, work with the people she wants to work to.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, like, with new artists, why, if you said about taking some of the royalties and whatever, like, it's hard making music as a musician. Like, I'm in a successful band, we sold quite a nice amount of records in our career, and literally, I bought my house and stuff. I bought it with live. Everything I've got that's of any value, I bought from doing gigs, because I've made very little money out of streaming or selling records or anything. And I've sold some CDs even, and still didn't make that much money. Like, why would you want to, like, I really like this new artist. I want 50% of their songwriting, of their creative output. You just give them some money. Do you know what I mean? Buy the record. So hopefully it won't take off, because hopefully people want to support creativity and artistry and all that stuff. That's the end of that.
Cool.
That's
Does that
okay.
answer your
thank
second
you.
question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing, thank you. Do we have any other questions from the room? We've got 2 hands. Can we go to the middle question first, then we'll come over to you, if that's okay?
No.
What t-shirt?
Oh God, she's protecting
She
us.
is protecting the panel.
Kill Whiskers.
Whiskers, she's too
protecting us
scary.
from
Can you
Whiskers.
stop scaring the dog?
Hi.
Okay. Only Whiskers.
So yeah, my name is Musumba. I'm 17 years old. So
Legend.
pardon?
Proper legend.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, I've been going at the industry for like 2 years now. I managed to get Radio 6 actually
Tom Robinson.
from one of my first ever songs when I was
Well done,
15.
man.
Well done.
Well
Woo!
So thank you so much.
What's your artist name? Sorry.
Musumba.
Wasumba.
Yeah, Musumba.
Okay.
So yeah, just over a year now. Well, I've been producing, I've been mixing, mastering, but just over a year I've been taking it seriously, and everything I somewhat put into my music is done by me. I'm fully independent, so like everything from the cover art to the mixing to the recording, everything's done in my bedroom. Yeah, everything from filming, editing, like it's all done by me, or I'll ask someone to do something for me. And over time, I've somewhat come to the conclusion that I don't really want to sign. I don't really want to give all my masters away. And I've learned about metadata. So, I'm signed with PRS now as well. Got all my copyright, and I'm still just at beginning stages. I don't really know much. But I'm at second year of college. I'm doing music tech at Leeds City College. And I've also come to the conclusion that I don't want to go to uni, and I want to fully pursue my music. And it's more about like investment and having the right people around me, because I don't have much of a team. I've been offered like management deals and etc., but I just didn't feel like it was the right thing to go with just yet. In a sense, I know there's not much I can give back to the person, so why are they selling me somewhat of a dream? So I kind of like that.
They want to get in there early and fancy you,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that when you're really successful, they were there from the start, and
Yeah.
you've got to hand over 20% of your income.
But like, I think my issue is like my self-esteem, and also just always considering whether there's actually like a career after this, because I don't think I'm actually doing it to somewhat blow or somewhat be famous. I'm just doing it genuinely to just communicate, and I feel like that's where music has led me to. And I don't know, I still want to make an income off of it, and do shows, do festivals, do gigs. It's more, I found it like it is quite hard to do that without the team around you and that type of mentorship. I have been mentored quite a few times, but I have found it is hard to just, I don't know, like just navigate which route to go without someone saying just sign a deal, and it's just like no, like that's not what I want. So I don't know if there's any advice you could give me before I do turn 18.
Don't sign anything yet.
No.
Your reticence actually speaks volumes. Like the fact that you've been thinking about it hard is a good thing. Don't sign anything ever. if possible.
Cool.
signing something will never work in your favor
Yeah.
normally.
Yeah.
But don't be too scared to collaborate.
Oh,
Like,
no,
you know, you said you did all your artwork yourself and you did mixed and mastered it yourself and you made all your music and you should reach out, like work with people who you go to college with.
You
Ben
have,
Travis.
haven't you? Yeah, you bet. Number one, you are amazing.
Oh.
Don't let anyone ever tell you or make you feel otherwise. The first time I heard Masumba's music, she was 15 and it absolutely floored us. We had to play it. It was just, that's how good it was. It was that good. Even Nico's excited about it. And, you know, every track, you're still growing.
Yeah.
You're still finding your path. You've worked with Ben Travis. You've been working with Jay Depps as well. So you are collaborating.
Oh, right, okay.
But you're
Sorry.
still, but you're, no, it's okay. You know, you are just finding your path. And I think that's the thing. You're growing as an artist. You've had some massive opportunities and you've really taken on board. But I think, you know, I think back to a Ditto panel that I was on a couple of years ago with Graft. And someone talked to Graft about his manager. And he was like, I don't have a manager. I'm self-managed. And he just had an email address that was set up to look like he was managed. It was like GCO management or something like that. And even now, you know, I was one of the people that asked Graf to apply to Rap Game, and he did. And, you know, you can just see the purity in him. You know, he is exactly that artist and he is incredibly smart. And I know that him and the likes of Natantu, they've not rushed out to get management. They wanted to find the right people to work with that really got them and supported them in their music. She wants to go for some reason. But I think for you, just keep growing, keep experimenting, finding what it is that, you know, makes you and your sound you. I think that's more important at the minute than signing any piece of paperwork with any organisation.
Yeah.
If you do choose to go with a manager as well, a manager shouldn't sign a management contract with you for at least 3 to 6 months after you've been working together. You shouldn't sign a management contract with someone off the bat. I've managed artists for years and never had a contract with them. It's just been kind of a general kind of verbal agreement. Any manager who says, great, I'm managing you now, here's a contract that's got a massive sunset clause in it and I'm going to be managing you for forever. And even if you fire me, I'm still going to collect all your money. Run for the hills.
Yeah, totally.
Don't try not to sign anything for as long as possible. If you appoint a lawyer and a manager, you shouldn't have to sign anything. You can just try it on, see if it fits.
And like Graf did, you can make it look professional, but still have that
definitely.
control.
I've got friends who are artists who've made up whole personas. They've got imaginary managers who
You've got to
manage
go through
this,
this
who have their own
person.
email addresses.
I get that a lot. Like a lot of people do have this perception that I am signed and that I do have management, and they're always shocked when I say no. Like I just literally just vibe in my bedroom, and I don't even have studio monitors. Like I literally just make music. And
Did you say you're playing on Friday?
I am.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Do you want to shout out and invite us all to your gig?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm opening up for Blaze Buckle. Both of us are, and I think Chantel's it. Yeah, Chantel King is as well.
Amazing.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm on first actually. So I'm gonna be on at like 7:40. I'm releasing an EP as well by the end of the month. It's got like 3 tracks.
Where are you playing?
The Underground.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh.
But you just said you're releasing an EP at the end of the month. Where's the PR? Where's the emailing messages saying that this is happening?
So
to give us a little bit of an idea.
So I did try
planning.
to so I was, when my first EP came out in March, I did kind of set up a mailing list and I tried it out, but I just thought, let me just stick to introducing because but I got playlisted. I've been playlisted and like I'm on like 1.5k monthly listeners now, and most of that's come from me not having to release music. I just have consistent listeners and like a very devoted fan base that would, even if I was to drop something exclusively just on SoundCloud, they would go out of their way to listen to it. And I have more listeners in the US now. Before, it never used to be like that. My demographic used to be the UK, but now I tend to attract like the US and France. And I think that's just from different playlists. So Yeah.
You're doing the right thing. You're on the right track. I
Yeah.
hope that some of this advice is helping as well.
Thank you so much, honestly.
Thank you. I think we're gonna move it along to the next question if that's okay. But we'll see you again on Friday at the Underground. So
Hi,
another question.
Good evening. So I'm Kath. Just wanted to open up a bit of a conversation about. So we're a really strong live act. So talking about being authentic as an artist and that fine balance between appealing to a fan base. We're a heavier act, Kath and the Kicks. So just to get a bit of feedback, really, if you know that your best strength is being a live act, so tour supports and things like that, what would you recommend, or what's your advice as to how we should move forward as opposed to maybe not like an online strategy, if that makes sense?
What do you want to achieve? First of all, you just say move along, but
Yeah, well, we're a really strong live act, so we're a heavier band. We'd love to get a tour support so we can.
you want a tour support.
Yeah, that's where we feel that we'd be best moving forward. Yeah.
Okay.
I think first of all, you got like so make friends with your local promoters, who's promoting the gigs you want to go to or you want to play at, and try and like befriend them so that they will or just send your music to them. You don't have to be friends, just have to just like you, so that they know if this slot comes up by a touring band, like that they will ring you for it. Like our break, we've been in some other bands before, and one of our big breaks was we, for whatever reason, were quite good friends with the people who run the cockpit and stuff. A band came into town. They didn't have any support, so we did it, and Forward Russia, which is Whiskers' band, also did it. And then from that gig, made friends with the main band. They asked us to go on the next tour, and we were first on that. And then we all saw our jobs and stuff at this time. And then when they did the next tour, which was in the autumn afterwards, they asked us to go on that as just us and them. And like we got so many, like a similar sort of band, got so many fans from that. And then we actually signed to their label and stuff. And that was totally our break. That one gig was basically the moment that started the ball rolling, really. So making friends with promoters, then making friends with bands. If you play a gig, be friend. Like I made a list actually for something the other day about like doing a gig. It's like turn up on time, be like really like schooly stuff. Turn up on time, be friendly, be polite. Don't be like, if the drum kit can't be quite exactly how you want it to be, just get on with it. Like be easy, get booked for more gigs,
Make friends with
friends with the bands.
And
make friends with
it's worth knowing if you go to a gig, an indie gig, like a venue this size, maybe slightly bigger, and you can't figure out who the promoter is and you want to go and introduce yourselves, speak to the person on the door doing the guest list and the merch person, because both those people will know who you need to talk to. And if you introduce yourself to them, they're probably more accessible than the promoter who's running around like a headless chicken. They're just good people to know, good people to make friends with. I remember Alt J, before they were Alt J, they used to be in a band called Films. And before they were in a band called Films, they used to be called Daljit Daliwal, which I thought was the worst name for a band ever. And when I worked on the door in Leeds at gigs and stuff like that, I used to work, just doing guest list at gigs, stage managing, stuff like that. Daljit Daliwal used to harass me. Not in the loveliest way. They were always lovely, offering to buy me drinks. They came in with these little business cards with their MySpace on them. I mean, this was like 10, 15 years ago. And in the end, I actually listened to their music and I was like, you know what? It's really bloody good, despite the horrible name. And they got some support slots just by making friends with like Nathan the Brudenell and stuff like that.
Also, the people like you, like the guest list person, they might put on gigs as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody.
So guest list person, merch person, they all work for the promoter, stage manager, sound guy. It's not just about like finding the person who's the most important person in the room. It's about finding anyone who's involved and kind of becoming a part of that ecosystem,
It's just, say it's like really, really hard because I say like from being in a band, choosing support, it's like the band, if they want anyone to be on, then the management, then the agent, then the record label. Like there's so many people who want to get someone on the gig that the percentage of gigs that have got a free slot that's just open for anyone to have is like tiny. So you've just got to make sure you're the person who gets that decision's first choice, like first person to ring. It's hard.
It is hard. Good luck though.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Do we have any more questions from the room? We probably have about 5-ish more minutes for some questions. So maybe if we try and whiz through.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
How are you, panel? You okay?
Hi.
Good.
I just thought I'd say hello. My name's Big Star. I'm from London, as you can tell from the accent. First of all, what would you like, the long story or the short story?
It's going to have to be the short story. I'm so sorry.
All right, I'll give you a short story about me. So I'll start from college. So around 16, I went to college and I studied business. fast forward, I met a lovely lady in my class. She was very beautiful. So we got together. We studied together. I left college, and all of my friends at the time in London were just like going on Link Up TV and Grime Daily. There was a huge surge. Around the time Stormzy had just come up. And for some reason, because I was a bit more of a business person, I thought, you know what? I don't want to do the old traditional hustle and kind of throw it into the music. I thought I'd kind of use my brains and sit back. So for 5 years, with me, my brothers, and my missus, we started in the loft. I bought equipment and we produced music. Now, this music was good enough to get in the hands of someone called Brian Berg from Universal Music. And for like 2 years, we were in negotiations. So my experience of the music business is somewhat a bit different. I started off SoundCloud, and through SoundCloud and hitting 30K, just emails started coming in. So after those 2 years of going back and forth, I realized I did not want to be involved with any record label or anything as such. So for the last year or so, I've been traveling from London, going all the way through Pirate Studios, Birmingham, Hull, Leeds, and Bradford. And I've managed to build a network as a producer with kind of every main producer in these kind of areas or people that are coming up. So what I'm doing now is I'm running a production company, and our main USP is to look at developed or underdeveloped artists and try and bring them up and build them up. Have you got any like advice you would give to a production company that's coming up on ways to like push and like move their model forward?
When you say production company, you're producing music?
Strictly music. So not a video production company, a music production company. So a hub of engineers and producers who come together on projects for artists, like a demo, a single, and we'll kind of match make you with someone who we think has a similar sound, an engineer, and we will produce that for you.
Right, so you're more like producer agents? You're the mediator, right?
Well, to be fair, it's naturally come about because I'm pretty decent at networking. So I've just been lucky enough to be in an opportunity where I can now, on my phone, I can make a phone call.
But your company isn't employing music producers. You're just matching music producers with artists.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, because we're still early. It's only this year we started.
The middle person.
Absolutely correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And how does it work? Do you take a cut of the production fee, or?
Well, to be fair, the way I've been making the most of my money is through leases. So every producer, everyone's got a different model. I make the most of my money through selling leases. When it comes to working with an artist...
So you own the masters?
Pardon, sorry?
Do you own the masters?
I only do limiteds. I only do a limited lease. And if the artist would want to come back and buy an exclusive, then I would offer them an exclusive. But at first, I do an affordable limited lease so that they can afford to get a track. Because of the demographic we're working with, people from 17 to 21 can't afford to pay a certain amount of money to get a lease. Mm-hmm. So London prices are different from up here. In London, you can afford to charge maybe $250 a beat. Over here, people pay 30 to 50 pounds.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's a completely different model. So it's been a bit of a shuffle to get to that point.
Right.
So would you have any advice on like working as a production company? Anything we could do to move forward?
No.
Nobody has any advice on anything to do with production related issues.
It's a model that I've never actually worked in or around, so I'm not entirely sure, but I would just say like just make the music really, really good.
Yeah,
and like
A&R in really A&R in the
A&R the shit out of whatever you do. Yeah.
So just a quick question. See, when you say A&R, is that the process of you selecting a track and then putting it on into the right places where it needs to be? Is that what you call A&R?
It's not just selecting it. It's curating it in a way. So like guiding the creative process in a way that creates like positive outcomes, like the best possible music, basically. So it's not just finding music that's good. It's about finding music that's good and making it better, like guiding the creators to create the best possible music.
Because the way you grow your production house is by having hits, right?
Right. The reason I ask is because some people would walk into the studio and be like, put a hi-hat in there, put a kick in there, I've ate another track. So there's obviously like different levels. Well, some real creators would say all you've done is just kind of picked a kick and a hat, which anybody could do.
But there's different.
When like I've seen like Kanye's been in the studio and Kanye's like 10 people and one guy's on hats, and then like one guy's getting the hat and then taking it in, and Kanye's going nah, and then the next guy's bringing a hat in and he's going yes. Like, so I guess sorting the hats out is a creative thing in a certain.
It's a matter of opinion, but it is a creative thing. All right. Okay. Cool.
He's a creator, yeah, or she, hi-hat woman.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
I think
just,
any further advice on this one?
So yeah, like I say, it's well out of my comfort zone, but
I'm aware of that process. Though I'm aware of the whole leasing of beats and stuff like that. I just don't do that. I've got my own in-house production team, and we just go 50-50. But there's kids who come to our studio who
do lease beats.
Yeah. But the demographic you're talking about, they're the young kids who can't afford the exclusivity. So
it's a really dangerous game not getting exclusivity on a beat that you're recording and releasing.
Yeah, I'm not used to that. Like I've had producers that have wanted to do that with me, but I'm just used to just having that agreement with the producer. It's just 50-50 and that's it. But I understand it though. I understand that.
I know how it works. I just don't get involved in it because I personally would hate to see a massive hit happen and someone not have exclusive rights over the beat that's underlying the hit, and then that beat be bought out by somebody who buys the exclusive rights to that beat, and then they own a part of a massive hit that they've had no part in, like, creating.
Right, so on the lease, there would be a clause which says you have first rights to negotiation on that contract.
Oh, okay.
So nothing can be done without the artist's consent on that limited lease. They have to be consented. And as a producer, I make sure I don't pass music on to other people because you can get into trouble for that. And artists do not appreciate. So that's always a clause we put in the lease. Absolutely.
There is there was a story in Rolling Stone recently about this guy who was just buying up like TikTok sensation beats, artists who'd recorded over non-exclusive rights beats, and he was making millions of pounds, and these artists were just absolutely screwed.
Because with that process, you can lease it out to more than one artist, can't you?
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's what I don't like. That's why I've been against it. So if I jump on your beat and there's another rapper on the same beat,
2 hits on the same beat, it doesn't make sense.
I just don't like it, man.
Guys, I think we're gonna have to wrap this up.
Sorry, we'll speak after it though. We'll speak after.
Exactly. Can we just have this one final question maybe? At the front. Yeah, that's a conversation over a drink afterwards. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Dan. So I've only just started my first year, but I'm 21, so I've started a little bit late. My music GCSE was cancelled my year because not enough people chose the subject. But I carried on, managed to get to quite a good standard on my instrument. I would like to say. I hope I can say. And yeah, I've got myself into a couple of projects. I want to start staying away from the cover acts but I also do love. I just have the reason why I'm in this is because I just have this awe-inspiring passion for music. Any kind of music you could throw at me, I will 9 times out of 10 I will enjoy. It's just that my creativity, I love playing other people's songs, but I don't write. I myself wouldn't see myself as much of an artist as I would more of like just trying to be the best instrumentalist as I can. So yeah, I don't even know where this is actually going, to be fair. But yeah, like would you have any advice for someone like me who's more sort of focused on playing, like, obviously good music, but has what I would feel as a bit of I'm quite a plucky, simple person. I've not got an avant-gardeness to me. Is there any advice?
Session musician work or covers bands? Like, oh my
Make
God,
good
my
Covers
friend's
are
little
lost,
brother was in a Take That covers band, travelled the world and earned loads of money just pretending to be Mark Owen. Like,
Or session work if you want it to be
or
more
session
original.
musician work.
The session work's kind of similar to that. It's kind of like get into some bands, do some touring, build your CV, and then gradually go up. But I feel like being a session musician is quite nice. Do you know what I mean? You can play the gigs, and hopefully you maybe play with someone big, and you play some really big gigs, and you'd have to do any of the promo, you don't have to do any of the rubbish bits of being in the band, being in the videos. You just get to play the gigs and then go for a beer. Perfect.
Yeah.
Suits you down to the ground.
And if you want to travel, I mean,
Yeah.
both of those are traveling gigs. If you want to stay put, then maybe you need to plan B. But travel a lot. Yeah. See the world.
Okay, guys, just super quick fire. I'm going to give you 1 minute to answer each of these questions that have come in from online. There was a nice little discussion actually going on online, so hopefully there's been some peer kind of answers to these questions. But Abby asked, what if you were a new band only starting to build a following? Can you release your best stuff too early and run the risk of no one hearing it?
No.
No.
You can always
Release it now. Write something better tomorrow.
And you can always re-release it as well.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
What I was going to say
Dua
is down the
Lipa-
line.
Dua Lipa re-released Be the One. She released it twice with 2 different artworks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, it can be reconfigured
It's the first single.
later down the line, but, your best material first, because there's only so long to have that buzz around you as a new artist as well. So you need to capitalize on it then while you are new and mysterious. Why are people so interested in finding out about Salt? Because nobody knows who is really in Salt,
Except we do.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
I kind of know. I'm guessing, but I'd still be guessing. But the element of mystery always, brings people in for Woo Life. It worked for them, So yeah.
Okay,
definitely
cool.
Best material first.
There we go. It's a solid no, release your music now. Re-release
Always
if
the
you
best
need
music.
to.
Always the best music.
Best music
Only
first.
the best.
Best foot first.
Okay, second question, second and final question of the night comes from Sean and stuff. What's the best way to go about finding a team/manager?
Call me.
Research.
I think it's people on your local
Researching.
scene, isn't it? I see people meeting people because they go to a lot of gigs to support other artists and meet other people on the scene that generally go to a lot of gigs. If you ever seen the film 24-Hour Party People in Manchester, where they're like, oh yeah, that's John the Postman. I literally have that on the scenes that I go out on. I know the photographer. You meet these people around and about. So just get out there, get experience in live music, not even just playing your own shows, going to support other people. I think that's the best way to build a network.
Yeah.
If you're in a music institution or you're studying as well, there's other people there that want to be managers, that want to be photographers or want to be doing all these jobs. Just try and you've done a really good job of this, haven't you, Chiedu?
What do you mean?
Building your team really
Oh yeah,
on
it
your
took a
local
while
scene.
though. It took a while. There's been a few members, a few guys I've had to kick out physically as well. But
Something else to the question, I think, is the manager, I think, as well. A lot of the other team members can come and go a little bit. You can lease, not lease, what's the word? Get label services so you don't get your masters back soon because you could work with a record label but not give away your masters. You can give away for 2 years or 5 years and then get them back. So there's lots and lots of options, but manager, I think, is so personal because they're going to look after everything. Some people's managers pay their bills and all sorts of things, So the manager is really important to just get someone that's understands, what you want and how you want it.
selection process, man,
Yeah.
it is.
You need to be really selective. Don't hit people up with music that if you did any research, you'd realize they won't enjoy listening to. So I get people emailing me being yeah, I meant death metal covers of sea shanties. And I'm like, why are you sending it to me? I listen to R&B. Just aim your music at people who are going to enjoy it and you can't go wrong.
Okay, there we go. Well, I think that is it for this evening. Thank you so much to everyone who's come down in person and also everyone who's watched online. You can find any of the things that we've referenced throughout the night, any websites, any links, anything like that, you'll be able to find in the comments on the online stream, and you can watch this back again. And yeah, thank you to all the panelists and for everyone for joining us. Have a great evening.